Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Very Connected podcast. And we have a very special guest tonight. We have Nerissa Stewart. Hey, Nerissa. She is with the Bariatric Society, and she's here to talk about her own story and basically how she's kind of navigated through that with social media and also just the community as well, as she is a large part of our community in the bariatric realm. And her husband, Chris, both had bariatric surgery together. And she's going to be sharing a little bit about their stories, her family, and just life in general. So, Nerissa, at that, um, I want you to say hi. I also want to welcome everybody as you join the webinar. Please feel free, if you're on our live event, please feel free to say hello. We have, it will be showing, the chat feature will be showing just to our hosts and panelists. So um, just let us know where you're from. And I want to say hi to Enid. She's joining us today. And also, I'm going to be putting myself on mute to check our Facebook feed while Nerissa says hi.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nerissa. Most people know me as Rissa or Rissa Recharged. Like Brenda said, my husband and I did both have VSG. We had it back in July of 2019. We actually just celebrated our 5-year surgiversary. So it's crazy to think that it's literally been 5 years since we've been on this journey, but it's been amazing. It's been awesome. And I would say one of those reasons is because we found community online. So I'm excited to talk about this. I know that I think everybody's on a continuum, right? When they think about how they want to share their journey, whether they don't want to share it at all with anyone, or they're completely on the other side where they're loud and proud and they're, hopefully sharing their story to inspire others. And there's lots of different kind of spaces in between. So excited to, dig in and, we can start wherever you like, Brenda.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to cover here. I feel like maybe let's start with like you and Chris's story. So they both had VSG in 2021. They both lost
2019.
close 2019. I don't know why I had 2021 in my notes. And you've lost close to 300 pounds together. Is that right?
Yeah, so like over 250, less than 3. Yep.
Right around that. And let's start by talking about what prompted you to do that, how your lives have changed, and also your creation of your social media accounts. Because I know that that's a major factor with community because it's been part of your story all along. You've kind of shared it almost from the beginning.
Yeah, almost from the beginning. And there's a start point. There's a specific start point, and I'll touch on that. But literally, I think our story starts the same, like everyone else's, right? We had tried every diet. We, were going to the gym. We were doing all the things that quote unquote, supposed to. And that stuff wasn't working, right? We'd lose a few pounds, gain it back, lose it, gain it back. And, at the end of the day, it was one moment for me that told me I had to do something very different. And that was when my son, he's 9 now, but at the time he was 4, and we were sitting on the ground on the floor in the living room, and we were playing with toy cars. I remember it just like it was yesterday. And he looked up at me and he said, "Mommy, you're fat." And that just rocked me to the core, because I was just like, one, like, how do you know these words? Like, what does this mean to you? And then also, why is this how you see me? Is there something that I'm doing that, maybe says I'm different than the other mommies that you're seeing, or either I'm not able to do like some of the activities that you want to do? Like, what is that? And obviously these aren't questions that I was asking him, but I was asking in my head. And coincidentally, within a couple weeks, I don't think I even told Chris the story, but he turned to me and he said, "Hey, I scheduled a consultation for weight loss surgery. And I said, okay. And he was like, and I scheduled one for you too. We're going together. And I was like, okay. And at this time, I really wasn't a consideration. I didn't um, know a lot of people that had weight loss surgery. I didn't even know what VSG was. In fact, we actually went into the office thinking about the balloon, think about the gastric balloon. And then, we went to the office and they went over the different options. And, the surgeon said, you know what, I think VSG or, gastric sleeve is actually the way you need to go. And we were pretty much on board from that moment, and kind of just went through the motions of getting approved and all of that. And I think, really kind of fast forward, I was always a social media person as a consumer. And I used it for like different little businesses that I was a part of, or different groups or communities. But it was during the pandemic for sure, where I was at home. I was working from home like everyone else and didn't have a lot to do. So I just said, you know what, let me just play. I think TikTok was getting big then. And I just started making content and sharing, transformations and before and afters, and exercise routines that were helping me while I was at home. We literally built a home gym in our garage. So we really just started sharing our life and our journey, and just sort of kind of fell into it. And now, I mean, literally, I'm sure you could ask Chris this, I probably couldn't go a day without, picking up Instagram or TikTok or one of the other social media platforms. It's definitely become a huge part of my life.
So do you feel like that the community has added to your success? Do you feel like that the support that you're receiving and the support that you're giving is helping you in your journey?
Absolutely. Definitely at the beginning. Well, I'll say this. I think at the beginning, there weren't a lot of people that were sharing or didn't see it, right? So the algorithm, we know, has to kind of bring these people to you, right? As you sort of start posting, then you see more of people like you. So I kind of felt like in the moment, especially during that time, during the pandemic, it was giving me an outlet of being able to share and answer those questions that people were having. So I think there was actually more questions that others had than that I had. And I think it was a way also to just kind of create community, create friendships, and to, really kind of take part in those social activities that we couldn't do anymore, right? So we weren't able to go to the gym, we weren't able to do, all of these other things. So I would say I kind of created community around me versus, like maybe falling into a community because it wasn't necessarily there yet, right? So Bariatric Society wasn't there yet. Very connected, things like it just wasn't here 5 years ago. So luckily there's so much more, so many more resources out there, podcasts, and different opportunities for folks to connect now. But really back then, and we say back then like it was forever ago, but 5 years ago, it wasn't. And now we've seen so many things sprout since then, which is exciting.
And I think that kind of brings me to my next question. What advice would you give to other people who are wanting to share on social media? Because I feel like for myself, I'm not like a big social media person as far as like posting stuff all the time. And it's kind of scary to kind of get out there and put yourself at that level, put yourself out there. Some people actually use like you get known by your name. Yours is Rissa
Sure.
Recharge. And people start knowing you by that name. And
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes people will actually create names that aren't just their own. Like it may not be Nerissa Smith. It may be something different.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me about that and what kind of content you share and what kind of information and what you're seeing out there that might help other people that are wanting to share their story.
Yeah. It's funny enough that you even bring up Rissa Recharge, right? I actually did not technically come up with that. I think a previous name that I used to go by was like You Glow Girl. And as I got serious about my content, I actually had a branding person, that helped me, advise me, help with my first ebook. And so we really thought about like, hey, what's your name going to be? What is that going to look like? And I think we kind of brainstormed on different, things or what connected. And I can remember Rissa Recharged came up, and I was like, I like that. And the reason why I liked it so much, and I'm wearing a shirt today that says refresh, refocus, recharge. And that's how I felt. I felt like the surgery had given me an opportunity to be new, be different, to literally kind of plug myself in and recharge and just come out and be something different or a different version of myself. So that's what happened. It stuck, and it's been like that ever since. I mean, I've gone in public places and people are like, oh, it's Rissa Recharge. So it's I can't imagine like that not being the name today. But I would say for folks that are thinking about sharing their journey on social media, one, just do it, right? Like it's for you. At the end of the day, let it be for you. Don't worry about, followers. Don't worry about, is anybody listening? Don't worry about all of those things. It will come. If you are, authentic, if you're, being yourself, you'll find those people that gravitate to you and want to know more and want to hear like what you're doing, especially on this journey. Like you already connect because you have something in common. So you got to go in with it, not worrying about anything else. No numbers, any of that stuff. You can't think about, I want to get brand deals, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And at the same time, you also have to realize that this still is, for some reason, it's taboo for people, right? So you're going to get, some of those negative comments. One of the things I talk a lot about on my platform is that weight loss surgery is not the easy way out. And I do that, me personally, I do that with humor. So if I get negative comments, a lot of times I'm turning that into content, and I'm laughing right back, and I'm saying, hey person, it's actually not the case, and this is why. And that works for me. That may not work for someone else, right? For someone else, they might, need to turn off the comments or turn off the likes and the vanity metrics. But for me, I have thick skin. So it was, the negative comments don't bother me at all. I find some way to use it, to inspire and motivate someone else. But you have to be prepared for it. You have to know that it's gonna come at some point.
I have to say you have a huge point there, the thick skin part, because when you do put yourself out there, sometimes some of the comments that do come back, people can be really hateful or just say things so insensitively. Like they're not even,
Yeah.
I think that people get really brave because they don't think they don't realize they're actually talking to someone. They feel like they're just putting their feelings out there very, very straightforward and not even filtering at all. Like it's just like whatever they're thinking is just
Mm-hmm.
coming out straight, and it can be very sensitive. Um, I thought, if it's okay with you, I thought I'd actually just pop on to your Instagram and your TikTok pages and kind of show them maybe what that looks like, if that's okay,
Sure. Absolutely.
just to kind of get an idea. I actually have them pulled up, so I am going to share my screen and I will share. I have your Instagram here first, and how about we pop onto something on here and just show them one of your little videos or something. I know this one here is kind of funny. This one here I love. Me and my husband and all his little girlfriends.
Oh yes, yes. So
That one
that's
is
actually Yeah, that's a viral
Right.
post. So, obviously we took basically another taboo topic, right? So the thought of polygamy, is very polarizing for folks. But we basically created this storyline that my husband had dated all of these different girlfriends, but they were actually all different versions of me. So
I love this. Okay, I'm gonna pull it up and we'll just play it here. I don't know if the music was you were able to hear
it
it, but
wasn't.
it's oh shoot. Because whenever I shared my screen, I didn't push the button for sharing with. Let me stop here for just a second, and I'm gonna do that so if we share any other content, I'll be able to hear sound with it because that kind of makes it more fun. I love that though. I think that is so dang cute. Let me oh, it didn't do it again. Let's try it one more time. Share. Share sound. Okay, here we
and I,
go. Oh, go ahead, Nerissa.
no, I was just gonna say that, I think you have to, again, you have to do what works for you. Humor works for me, whereas someone else, maybe it's educational, maybe it's sharing recipes, maybe it's sharing exercises. Like at the end of the day, be you, whatever that looks like. And you can change. Like the content I did, content I do today is different than 6 months ago or a year ago. So you will continue to evolve for sure.
I'm gonna click on over to your TikTok too. Yeah, being yourself, I think, is the most important thing because what works for you, if you were to go out and share, I don't know. I mean, I feel like you're into so many different things, fashion, probably makeup, and exercise. I don't know. If you were to share something about fishing, I'm not sure if you're a fisherman, but
I am that.
it may not come across as authentic. Anyone you want me to pop onto just to show another little cute little video?
I do. I like that first one. The first one is more of like a motivational one. That first one on the top left. Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that one here.
People think I'm obsessed with this, but I'm okay with it. I am obsessed with it. And I think this is an obsession that people think I'm obsessed with this, but I'm okay with it. I
Oh,
am
that's so
obsessed
cute.
with it. And
So time-wise, how long do you typically make your videos?
Mm, it depends. So I definitely try to incorporate a variety, but I would say definitely less than 60 seconds if I'm teaching something or doing like a recipe video, and then very short form content like that works pretty well. But I also do tons of lives, right? So those lives help me create sort of that long form content so that people are actually seeing me on that serious side of me, right? Or that teaching side of me versus maybe what they're seeing comically on the screen. So I think you have to find different ways to show the different sides of yourself.
Do you have any ones of you before and after, or before you and Chris before and after?
Um, yes, let's see. I believe that second row on the left, or either, yeah,
This
yeah,
one?
that one. Hmm.
This one? Okay.
Yep.
Imagine the day they see you again. And you are just, well, better.
It's
Imagine
kind
the day
of it's
they
kind
see
of
you
neat to
again.
show those before and after pictures because people
And you
don't
are just,
always they see you
well,
right now, Nerissa, and it's
better.
hard to be able to see you at a different size.
Absolutely. Even us personally, we have that same thing where we'll look at pictures or like we'll discover pictures because now at this point we've exhausted, right? We've exhausted like before and after pictures, but we'll find some randomly sometimes and we're like, oh my goodness, like who is that? Like we don't, know ourselves. And even our kids, even our older kids, we have 5 kids. So I didn't mention that, but we have 5 kids from 20 to 3. And if you do the math, then that means that we had a bariatric baby, right? But our older kids that are 20 and 18, they even tell us, they're like, we don't remember you all being that size. Like we truly like remember you being bigger, but not what we see on these pictures.
It's, I think people remember what's front and foremost, like they see you now every day and how healthy you
Yeah.
are and what you're doing. I'm gonna kind of hit on a couple more things with your social media before we kind I'd like to know more about like your lifestyle now too.
Mhm.
But tell us like so if you're posting on social media, tell us a little bit about like do you use editing tools? How do you get the
Yeah.
best pictures? Is there anything you can share from that standpoint? Because I mean, there might be people on here that are actually wanting
Yeah.
sharing and like
Absolutely.
there's so many questions when you start doing things like that.
One thing, as I was thinking about this conversation earlier this week, I really one thing that rang out to me is if you have an idea, just do it, right? So that's where I feel like I've been able to, I've had multiple videos go viral. That's one thing that has helped with that, if that's your goal, is to, when I have an idea, just act on it. Because here's the thing, there's very few new ideas, right, in the world. Like there's things that have been done or other people are having the same idea. Or I remember listening to a motivational speaker and they said, sometimes you'll have an idea and if you don't use it, um, it's going to float on to somebody else, right? So I
Mhm.
feel like when you think of something, try to do it or try to get it done as soon as you can. Because if you wait too long, then especially like we see it trending videos, right? Trending sounds. If you wait too long, then it's saturated and nobody wants to see it again because I've seen it. Every time you've seen it, right? You scroll and it's the same song, same thing over and over and over. So for me, I try to find ways that I can do a different take on something if possible, or I'll try and hop on it early, quickly on a trend very quickly. Or if there's something original that I want to do, whether I think it's going to go viral or not, I just do it. And that's what I did early yesterday actually with that Jon Stewart post. There's this Daily Show clip that's on my Instagram, and I was just like, I had this idea and I was like, let me just run with it. And literally, I mean, it had 28,000 views in the first day. And I had no idea it wasn't a trending sound. It wasn't anything. It was just like an idea that I had. So I think that's one thing is act on stuff. Two, you don't have to have fancy stuff. I do have things that I like to use. Like obviously I'm using a tripod right now. I do have a ring light that's behind, right? But I don't have $1,000 camera or anything, fancy like that, right? So you can start out with the things that you have, just your phone. I use CapCut a little bit for TikTok. I use InShot all the time for my editing, but the apps are getting really good about giving you their own editing tools, right? They actually want you to edit in the app. Instagram wants you to edit in their app. TikTok wants you to edit in their app. So anytime you can use their tools, it's going to give you a better opportunity to reach who you're trying to reach. So unless I'm doing something super complicated and I need to go to an editing app, I'll try to do what I can in the app, or I might start an InShot, but then wait to put like my on-screen captions or my on-screen text until I actually get in the app. And here's a tidbit is that, no watermarks, right? Instagram doesn't like TikTok. TikTok does not like Instagram. And of course, neither one likes YouTube, right? So anything that you're creating, you need to make sure that you're creating it uniquely for that channel. And that may sound hard. And I'm not the type of person that does different type of content for every platform, but I make sure that I have a clean version that I can upload to each of the different platforms. So I'm not having those watermarks. First of all, people don't even like to see them, right? Because it's busy, it's in the way, it's blocking what they're trying to see. But also the different apps, they're going to push it down, right? It would be like if you walked into Starbucks with a Dunkin' Donut coffee cup, right? Everybody's going to look at you like, what are you doing here? It's the same thing with the apps.
That makes total sense. It definitely does. How about lighting and stuff like that? Do you
Yeah.
use inside, outside? Do you just pay attention?
Chris has a better eye. So typically if I'm doing like any type of photography or still, he will do those for me. But I'm also not opposed to a good photo shoot, right? So at different milestones within my journey. So at 1 year at, I believe at 100 pounds down, at different opportunities, I've actually done professional photo shoots. And those pictures have carried me for different things, whether I needed headshots for events in order to go speak. You needed a headshot today, right? For the media. Those are pictures that I took with a photographer in Miami, probably actually 3 years ago. So you can, I think sometimes if you want to be serious, you got to put a little bit of investment in things. So I've had multiple different photo shoots. But if I'm doing my own, then, just using a timer, natural light is great. If not, using some type of ring light. This is the one I'm currently using today. It's literally on Amazon. But you want white light. If you can have white light, that's what you want. You don't want yellow light. You want bright, vibrant. You want to catch people's attention, right? So you can see as you're scrolling, if you see something it's not very bright, typically it's not going to catch your attention and you're to keep scrolling. So that's another tip too, right? So as you're thinking about the content creator that you want to be, do your research. I spend time scrolling every day, half for my own entertainment, but the half I'm seeing what other people are doing. I'm seeing what the trends are. I'm seeing what's new, what's exciting. So you'll kind of see like, oh, this is what does well, or they're doing this, or they're having captions on their screen. That's really engaging. That's something I would like to try. So just like your video, I think, Brenda, you have the captions, right? That really animated text. That's like, yes, I'm reading, I'm following, I'm doing all those things. So you kind of just have to collect those things in your toolkit and build on that. Don't do everything all at once, but kind of find the things that are going to work for you. And I would also say is, especially when you're starting out, you kind of have to niche down a little bit, right? You have to kind of figure out what are those things I'm going to talk about so that you build your initial audience, and then you can branch out. So like today, I talk about, everyone knows I'm addicted to Starbucks, right? So I have Starbucks content that's in my feed. I do this little session called For the People Who Don't Cook. And that's a play on the fact that Chris cooks. I don't. So literally anything you see me cook on my page, I literally did for Instagram. Like honestly, my kids are eating it because they have to, but I'm doing it because I want to, have this conversation or this engagement with the other people who don't cook. And that's actually worked well for me too, because I've had different food brands reach out and do brand deals, right? That are like, hey, we really like this. This is pretty cool. Like you're showing bariatric folks or mom folks or busy folks that they can still eat, good food, healthy food, even if they're not the best cook in the world, right? So again, like today, I can weave in different things that make sense because I'm 5 years post-op. I'm not, probably gonna, like, what I eat in a day is not what the average, person who's 3 months out, what they eat in a day, right? So I can share it every now and then, but it isn't going to resonate with those folks, right? So I have to find the things that are relevant to me to be able to share. And then that makes content creation easy, right? Because I'm literally sharing things that are part of my life and my day anyway, versus, trying to find something that, is not, that maybe resonates with the audience more, but it's actually more work for me because it's not part of my normal life.
So how, like as an influencer, I know that you also work. You work full time, do Bariatric Society, and then you do this. But
Yes.
those who might do this as more of a like maybe that's what they use for their major income and they're using
Sure.
brand deals and things like that. And I do know you have some brand
Ooh,
deals and stuff like
yeah.
that. What advice would you give there? How do you connect with those people? What are they looking for? That type of thing.
Yeah, I would say everything with everything, you have to be consistent, right? So if you want to be a full-time content creator, and I have never been full-time, but I've been a lot more active than I am today, right? Because obviously my focus has shifted to something that's bigger, right? But I would say you have to treat your content creation or your social media like a business, right? So you have to be consistent. You have to, pitch different brands. You need to create those relationships, and then you got to deliver, right? So if you tell a brand, "Hey, by Friday, I'm going to have a post up. I'm going to have 3 stories up." You got to have that, because I follow big content creators too, because that's where I get inspiration. But there's a content creator that I follow, and she basically talks about how um, most of her income actually comes from repeat business. So imagine if you sign a deal, you don't do your deliverables, or you don't do a great job with them, or you're late, etc. Why would they sign you for another month, or say, you know what, let's do a 3 month or 6 month contract? No, because I can go to the next person and I can see what that relationship looks like. So again, you have to treat it like a business. You have to wake up, do the things that you need to do, create your content, and also start looking for more, pitching more. And also at the other side of it is you still have to resonate with your audience, right? So if you are a bariatric influencer or a fitness influencer, whatever that looks like, I don't know if you want to talk about lawnmowers unless you find a unique way to make it fit, right? Your audience is going to expect certain things from you and certain recommendations that work. And especially if you're in this niche, you're looking at, hey, what is the best, protein for me? What are the things should I be eating? What exercises, what equipment, what are those things that are going to help me with my lifestyle?
And I like how you keep it real. You always you do a lot of little funny things and stuff like that to keep it light and fun. And you incorporate a lot of your lifestyle into what you're talking about. You make it real, like it's your real life, like what you're doing for the day or whatever. Tell us about how your life has changed, because I know you and Chris have really gotten into fitness and you've been focused on that. Tell us
Yeah.
about all of that.
I would say that it's it's so important to have like structure, right? And consistency, especially this far out, is that you have to find ways to make the time for things that you need, right? So what that means is I have to make time to make my lunch every day, right? We have to make time to go to the gym. Chris is definitely at the gym probably twice as much as I am, but I'm there as much as I can, right? So you just have to create the structure. And then obviously we have, sort of a huge projects that we work on with Bariatric Society. So it's like trying to find all of the things, or time for all of the things, without experiencing burnout. I think burnout is a big word that we don't talk a lot about. We probably talked about it the most during the pandemic, but you can still experience that, especially if you're like go, 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 go. So you got to find time for the family. You got to find time to rest. You got to find time for yourself. But at the end of the day, you can do it all. Like I say that we have the same 24 hours in a day as Beyonce. She does have a team, but we all have the same 24 hours in a day. You just got to figure out how you're going to use it. How are you going to make it happen?
Absolutely. And what things are really priority to you. I found for myself, last few years, my priorities changed with different things going on in my life. Like maybe at one point, my kids are grown now and out on their
Mhm.
own. But at one point, that was a major focus, getting them to their sports events and being there for all their activities. I mean, that was, if
Mhm.
you're a parent, that's a big focus. And for you having 5 kids, I'm sure that is making sure that all of their needs are met besides all of yours. Number two if you work full time, like how long it takes you to get to work and what you're doing at work and, how you're going to eat whenever you're there, if you're going to be able to, if you're eating out or if you got to bring your lunch or meal prep and all of that, the physical
Mm-hmm.
activity, being able to find time in your day. Is it important? Is it important enough to you to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever time you have to get up in order to be at the gym? Because I'm sure your work schedule, you have to probably plan around that, either going early or going late or going at lunch or whatever. So if it's a priority, like it is like this is part of my schedule, it's as important as my work or it's important as my kids. It has to be that,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
to make
And
it work.
luckily,
Otherwise it doesn't seem important.
yeah, luckily for me, I'm an early bird. I'm an early riser. So I find that if I can get that workout done early in the morning, it just certainly sets me up for success. So um yeah, it's hard to train yourself, right, to kind of change different habits, but I find if you get it done in the morning, then you don't have all day to kind of create those excuses of, oh, I'm tired, or oh, it was a long day, or oh, so and so wants to go to happy hour. Like, so if you get it done in the morning, you don't have to worry about all that stuff. Plus the gym is pretty empty first thing in the morning.
I totally agree with you. That is my time too. It gets my mindset started for the day, it gets my energy built up. Plus, I always figure, what else would I would be doing? Probably be sitting in front of the TV early in the morning and watching the news or scrolling on my phone for social media or, whatever. That's an hour that if I wake up and I'm not going to the gym, those are the things I do. And I think, it's just kind of like almost wasted time. So I kind of coaxed myself into just telling myself that
Mm-hmm.
it's like, you know what? I probably wouldn't even be up this early. I would be or just playing. And so it's just time that maybe didn't really exist in my day of scheduling, before. So it's kind of nice. You're right though. If you wait till the end of the day, you do find ways to not make it work. And
Mm-hmm. And I think once you combine that too with sort of content creation, like I have to find ways to make the content fit like into like my life. So we do a lot of filming at the gym, right? And luckily since we're there in the morning, we're not interrupting anybody else. Like it's lovely, right? Um but like I know I can't be that person that takes 3-4 hours on a Saturday, grabs all their stuff and goes to a location and films, batches all their content and does all this. Like that's 3 or 4 hours that I could be spending with the kids, right? So you got to find ways to make the content work for you and work for your lifestyle. Now for people that can do that, that's amazing, right? Because then you kind of open yourself up to other times where you're not having to like think about content. But for me, it doesn't work.
absolutely. We have some great questions here, Nerissa. It's actually in our um, Q&A box here.
Yeah.
So she has probably about 4 or 5 questions. This is out for Kelly. How much time do you put into your content creation and social media management?
Oh, ooh, that's hard to kind of quantify. So I would say today for Rissa Recharge, it's not too much. It's usually like, you know, maybe a half hour or so in the morning and then in the evening, and then I'm kind of doing stories sporadically, but that's the channel that I can kind of at this point I kind of do whatever I want, right? Like people are just gonna be like, okay, however Nerissa's showing up today. Now for obviously Bariatric Society and other accounts that I manage, because I am a social media I do manage a social media account for my best friend opened a med spa. So I'm managing her account. And so that content I have to put more thought into, right? Because it's more branded. We're telling, more of a story. So I would say I spend more time on those, thinking through those business sort of Instagrams. And I would say that can take a good amount of time. Because, we're creating different graphics and stuff for it. So I would say, you know, and on a bad day, probably an hour. But on a good day, probably 3 to 4 hours of just kind of researching content, brainstorming, creating, graphics. And sometimes, here's the other thing is there's a lot of things that go behind certain things, right? So we might be creating, something that's going on the page that's actually tying back to an email that we sent, that's promoting something that's happening in the future, or maybe we're partnering with other people. So there's so many other things to quantify. But I would say from a personal perspective, if I was trying to grow my personal account like today, right now, I would probably say a good 2 hours a day can get you what you need if you're super hyper focused on the content that you create.
Okay. And how far out do you plan your content?
Ooh, again, different for different accounts. Again, my personal account today, I don't do much planning at all. I save a lot of stuff, and then when I get to it, I'll film it, I'll do it. Or if there's like brands that I need to have commitments to, then I'll plan that out. But my personal account today, as it is, I don't plan any content. For those other accounts that I mentioned, I would say a week, 2 weeks is probably max, just because things change so often. Trends are changing. So it goes back to kind of hopping on things when it's fresh. If I were to plan something today for something to post 3 weeks from now, it's probably going to be too stale, and it's not going to be relevant anymore.
That definitely makes sense. What advice do you have for a newbie when it comes to first-time influencer contracts?
Honestly, I would say, talk to someone else that's like in the field, because sometimes you gotta start somewhere, right? So if that's gifting, maybe you're doing a couple of gifted collaborations where that means somebody's giving you the product and you're creating the content, because that's going to show brands what you're capable of. And then once you get to that point, then you can start kind of setting prices and figuring out that what that looks like. And I would say once people are saying yes to kind of where you are and your prices, then maybe it's time to raise the prices from there. But at the same time, think about, obviously you shouldn't pay for anything, right? You shouldn't pay for shipping. You shouldn't pay for, oh, we're going to give you 50% off. Like that's not, a lot of times those are scams. So a true partnership is someone that wants to work with you. They are providing a contract, and then from there, it's kind of up to you of like usage rights and stuff like that. But if you're brand new, I say just do the content, get really good at showing what you can do, and then you can kind of get to that next level. Because at the end of the day, for a brand to want to work with you, they have to show evidence that you have the ability to create good content.
And I know one thing that we look at too, whenever we're looking at somebody like that maybe is doing content with us, one thing we look at is not only the number of people that are followers, but also the engagement. Like if you
Yes.
look at somebody who has $100,000 followers, but then their posts show 1 like or 2 likes, you know that the engagement isn't there. Are they paying for their followers? You kind of ask questions like that. But if you have really good people that are engaged with what you're doing, they're commenting, they're watching your videos, that type of thing, that makes a difference. I mean, even if you only have 2,000 followers, but you have 50 likes on your post, or you have people that are commenting and engaging, that's, I would say, just as important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I can say, like, I've done a little bit of everything, at least with my personal brand. I had a fashion line at one point. I had a t-shirt line at one point. I've had ebooks. So like, you can't create those things just to create those, right? So you have to have engaged followers that want and be connected to actually know what they might want, right? So you have to have that in order to to be successful.
And what is your practice when it comes to responding or engaging your followers in comments and tagged comments? Content.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say Comments, DMs, I try to reply 100%. Obviously I'm human. I might, miss some here and there, but, I would say 99.9% I'm responding all the time. One, that's your community, right? If they took the time to comment or say something, then I'm going to comment back. I'm going to engage. That's the point of social media, right? Is to be social. And at the same time, I would say, tag comments, like, when something's spammy or somebody's just tagging you for a giveaway or, something like that. So I think that's really up to you as to like how much or what you engage in. But you can also I think it's important to put like timings or parameters, right? So you might say, okay, I'm going to spend an hour creating content. I'm going to spend, 15 to 20 minutes kind of scrolling, doing my research, and I'm going to spend 20 to 30 minutes making sure that I responded to comments, that I responded to DMs, that I've helped. Something that's important to me is, did I help someone today, right? So was I able to lead someone to a resource or answer a question that was important? Like whatever that, did I help someone today? So like you can still manage your time in a way that you get everything done, but it doesn't feel like you have to be tied to the social media every day. It's okay. People aren't expecting you to give an immediate reply, right? People aren't expecting you to answer their DM immediate. And if you go days and days and days and they've seen that you're active and they've seen that you've posted other content, of course, I'm going to think, oh, they're ignoring me now. But you don't have to respond to people immediately. You can block off that time to do it in a way that's efficient.
That actually is great to know, because you can spend, if you get on social media, you can spend an hour doing something and not even realizing, instead of like proportioning your time out there and really doing it. Now I'd like to jump into Bariatric Society, because you have this wonderful we have this wonderful conference coming up. I'd like to talk a little bit about that. I'm pulling up my notes here, and it's pulling up our TikTok. Sorry about the background noise. So the Bariatric Retreat is, I'm going to say a few things, and then Nerissa, I want you to kind of take over and kind of lead here. November 7th through the 10th. It's at Paradise Point in San Diego. It's basically an event made for bariatric surgery patients. You have an open reception, you have workshops, you have all kinds of speakers, you have a gala, you have a fashion show, you have a brunches that people can go to. Tell us about this event and what it's been like, because this is actually, is it the 4th year or 5th year?
It is 4th. Yep.
4th year. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to go to each event. Nerissa, this is your very first year as being the solo CEO. Well, you and Chris, the CEOs of the Bariatric Society. Before, we had One Hungry Mother, which is I can't think of her name. Stephanie led it before. So you guys took the reins recently, this last year. And so, but you've been at the retreats before in the past. Yes. And Paradise Point was actually the first place that the retreat was in the past. So we're revisiting that location. So tell us more.
Yeah, absolutely. So I meant to kind of mention that along the journey, but I would say my first kind of physical introduction to people in the community was the first Bariatric Society Bariatric Retreat. It was at Paradise Point. So it was in San Diego. We lived in California at the time. So we just drove down. Stephanie had asked me to speak on a couple of things. I think I mainly spoke about pregnancy after weight loss surgery. And it was awesome. And I was, I was probably like everyone else, right? A little starstruck by some of the people that were there. I can remember. I saw Des at the welcome party from across the dance floor, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's Des, like, what am I gonna, that was someone that I had followed early on in my journey. So I went up to her and I was like, oh my God, like, I'm so nervous. Like, I'm your biggest fan. And she was like, oh my God, Marissa, I am too. So it was just, it just clicked. And like, that's someone that is super close to us, super friend. We were just talking to her yesterday. And so it's those connections that are so important that are made at the bariatric retreat. So to kind of recap what you said, Brenda, yes, I think every single retreat has gotten bigger and better, and there's been surprises at every single one. We're very fortunate that we have been very, very close to, the sort of inner workings and things, since the beginning, especially, from year 2 on. So it really feels like a natural progression. But at the same time, it's really cool to be able to kind of keep the things that are, I guess, signature to the bariatric retreat, but also find ways to make it our own too for this first/4th year. But like you said, Brenda, there are over 16 sessions. These are expert led, and by experts we mean bariatric surgeons, bariatric therapists, nutritionists, dietitians, expert patients. So folks that have been through these things, and we have some really, really cool topics this year. Everything from neurodiversity in bariatrics, mental health, of course, nutrition, running after bariatric surgery. We have building habits. We have meditation. We have plant-based eating that folks have been asking us to do a session on for quite some time. So that's something there. We have lipedema. So we haven't addressed lipedema at Bariatric Retreat, but that is a huge thing of folks where they people are going undiagnosed, right? So they're not realizing that they have lipedema. If you don't know what it is, look it up after the surgery. But they are a huge part of this obesity/weight loss community, and they have turned to bariatric surgery to help control the lipedema. So we have some great folks that are speaking on that panel this year. We have a great keynote that's talking about stepping into your truth. So we have some folks that actually realize that they came out. They came out into the LGBTQ community once they had bariatric surgery and they had time to really uncover who they were. So we are exploring some amazing, amazing topics. We also have multiple workouts. So we have beginner yoga this year. We have power yoga, which is new. We have dance fitness. We're also doing a gym clinic. So that's new to Bariatric Retreat this year, where we'll actually have the Rob Demedio and Rob Spinella actually go into the gym each day and help people understand how to use some of this gym equipment. We did that at the New Jersey meetup, which we think was really special. So we're bringing that to Retreat this year. And then just like you said, we have the fashion show, which is just emotional and amazing. We have the gala, we have the welcome party. The welcome party is a luau this year. So expect some surprises there. The gala is a masquerade gala, so bring your mask, Brenda. And then again, just other just things that we have up our sleeves. I think earlier this week, we revealed that folks would be able to get their B12 shots and infusions right at Retreat. We're up early and we're staying up late. So you'll actually be able to get that energy shot to carry you through the rest of the weekend. And then we have amazing sponsors like you guys, ProCare, where, you're engaging with folks in the marketplace all day long. You're sharing more about your brands. You're having the people have the ability to sample things. They walk away with all this cool stuff in their swag bag. So it is nonstop. So from the moment, we get to registration, and even before that, where we pull our speakers and sponsors together for a quick meeting, like it is nonstop all the way through brunch on Sunday. So yes, it is a good time. It's a great time. It is totally worth it. It's worth the investment in yourself. Tickets are still available, so we'd love to have y'all.
It's definitely one of my favorite events to go to every year. And Nerissa, you know, like you've been at a lot of the events I have. We go to a lot of different things. And I would say it's one of the most highly recommended ones. If a patient would come to me and ask me, I would definitely say check it out. And I would say last year, for whatever crazy reason, I think I shared with you, it literally took
Yes.
me about a month to catch up with sleep. I think I was just like between the vendor stuff and all the after parties and everything, it was like, it's a lot, guys. There is so much to do. But you know what? You can always, there was a lot of people I talked to, like people who aren't in the vendor events, you like as a vendor, we have to be on all day and then you go to the after events. Obviously, you can turn yourself off at any point and just have like a little rest
Absolutely.
and relaxation. I knew there was a couple people that did that, just went to the pool. I think there was
Mm-hmm.
even like a little pool party going on at one point where a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people were just sharing their successes. But it's such, I will tell you, it's so rewarding to connect with people. You were talking about Des, you know, some of the people in the community that you see on social media, like Nerissa, who's out there telling her story and stuff. You can connect with those people. You can connect with people that maybe have never been to a retreat before and are basically just showing up for themselves. And I give so much bravery. People, you guys, don't be afraid. What would you say to those people who maybe don't have a community yet built
Yes.
and are coming for the first time and maybe coming alone and have never done anything like this before?
I would say a couple of things to that. One, I want to add this is that we take feedback very seriously, right? So there are things. So, for example, you mentioned, downtime, right? A couple years ago, people said, you know what, we need a little more free time, right? So we kind of baked that into Friday evening, right? So there is some free time for people to go do other things that they want to do, right? Something that came out of last year's, well, I came alone, and so I got to the welcome party and everybody's like on 100. Like the welcome party last year was like wow. And so because of that, we are doing now a first timer mixer that's happening during registration. So and we have some great folks that are going to lead that, get folks engaged, kind of get you meeting some other folks that are first timers. So we're going to create that sort of scenario for you, so you're not having to wait for the perfect moment to maybe join a conversation, or like you can kind of get those. I was watching Simone Biles. I was watching her special last night, and she spoke about the twisties, right? So you can get those twisties sort of out of the way really early, so then you can literally focus on having the time of your life for the weekend. So I'll say that's one thing. Just know you'll be taken care of from the moment you get there. We're going to make sure that you have some buddies, a buddy system. We have a awesome committee of just committee folks and speakers. You'll know who they are. You can always tap them on the shoulder, ask them, where do I need to go? What do I need to do? Or just say, hey, can we just talk? Like, you can do that for sure. Now, prior to that, we do have an opportunity. Every year we create a bariatric retreat group on Facebook for that current year, so that you're able to start having some of these conversations and dialogues. We see I'm in that group every single day, and folks are talking about, oh, what should I wear? Every time we drop an announcement, I know to go to the Facebook, because they're starting to talk about it. They're like, oh, what should we wear for the luau? What should we, is anybody coming from this state or that state? Is anybody, flying this airline? Would you like to meet up, at the airport? Would you like to share an Uber? So there's lots of conversations and stuff that are happening even before you get to retreat, because folks, again, they're really craving that connection. So we do have that bariatric retreat Facebook groups. And this is where a lot of people find roommates too, right? Because that is one way to cut down the expense, right? So if you can find a roommate that you can share a room with, that's going to cut your lodging cost in half. So we find that that's the easiest way for people to kind of link up, is literally just say, hey, I'm looking for a roommate. And we see those partnerships kind of happen organically all the time. So that's another way. And then, another opportunity is we share different art, like we just sent out magnets. So we're hoping as folks get their magnets, they're sharing. So then you can see other people that are coming. You can reach out to them, introduce yourself. You can pop up your little I'm attending graphic in your welcome email. So you can share with others that you're attending and kind of create those relationships ahead of time. And if you don't, we'll see you at the first time of mixer.
I love the idea of the mixer with just getting to meet people, because that's such an incredible way to be able to find the new people, like that's maybe just like you. Nerissa, I'm going to be posting. So if you're listening here live in the chat box, you're going to see Nerissa, how to find Nerissa, Nerissa Recharged on all platforms, and Bariatrics at Bariatric Society on all platforms. You mentioned the Bariatric Society retreat page. Is that something you get a link to once you register?
Yeah, you will get a link to it. Yep, once you register, we also send it in a welcome email. And if it's public, so you don't have to have your ticket already. There are people that are still like either thinking about it, or again, they want to look for a roommate before they get their ticket. So if you just look up Bariatric Retreat 2024, then it should pop up.
Okay. Now there is one more question. It's not
Sure.
related to Bariatric Society.
Mhm.
How is it wise to hire a host to help you on your social media due to work?
I think it can be. I think at the beginning, it just needs to be all you, right? So here's the thing, people are under the assumption that you need to post every day. That's not necessarily the case. You just need to be consistent. So if consistent for you is 3 days a week, that is fine. What can get frustrating is if you post one day and then you're not posting for another month, and then you go another 3 months and then people don't hear you, and then that's how you kind of lose your audience. But you don't have to post every single day. So I would say you definitely don't need to hire anyone. But I think as you get bigger numbers, or you find that it's just too much for you, absolutely, just like anything else, if you need to outsource and do it. We have a housekeeper that comes every 2 weeks, right? Because we don't have time to do it all, right? So if you find that there's something you need to outsource, or somebody does a certain thing better than you, like, it's okay. It's certainly okay. And you can find like a virtual assistant if you need to, or there's so many ways to do different things. You just got to do what works for you. And then obviously, like, for example, if the bariatric surgeons you see, most of them have, social media managers, right? Because their job is to have bariatric surgery, but they also want to connect with you and, and show off their personality. So they have someone in the background that's doing the planning, and then say, hey, we want you to do X, Y, and Z. And then they go in and they execute and they do an amazing job. And then they go right back to doing the things that they're an expert on.
That's a great answer. And really too, watching things like this, maybe for people who are influencers, maybe just getting advice. Sometimes it's not about not being able to do it yourself. It's just maybe getting tips and helpful little pieces of advice. And I'm sure probably, Nerissa, you probably listened to a lot of different topics on this before, or maybe listened to
Oh, yeah.
different speakers and got little tidbits, because it's kind of about learning as you grow too, as well. I'm going to recap. I want to say, do you have anything you'd like to close with as far as both your own journey and then also with the Bariatric Society?
Well, one, Brenda and ProCare, thanks for having us on Very Connected. Truly enjoyed the time. I love anytime I get to chat with you. And, you know, everyone that was able to join today, we appreciate you taking time. Everyone who will end up watching any of the replays, appreciate that. You know, definitely, I'm an open book. So if you ever just have any questions about anything along the journey, whether it's content creation, whether it's just bariatric surgery or pregnancy or whatever in general, feel free. Like I said, I do answer all of my DMs, all that good stuff. And also, you know, definitely make sure you're following us on Bariatric Society. We do a lot of cool things. We have lives with doctors. We do the bariatric goodie bag. You guys are a part of that, you know, all the time. So we have a lot of cool things that we do and try and want to be able to put into the hands of our followers. And then, of course, that does include the Bariatric Retreat. And when we have time, we try to do some local meetups as well. So, you know, there could be an opportunity where we're in your neck of the woods. So we would love to see you there. You just got to make sure that you're following us and that you stay connected.
Absolutely. You also have the book club.
Yes, that
Have the
too.
book club too, Bariatric Society book club. So when you get on to Nerissa's social media accounts, whether you're going to Nerissa Recharged or you're going to the Bariatric Society, you're going to find a link tree in her bio or in their bios, and you'll be able to click on those links, including this retreat that we're talking about in it. And I have, if you're listening to replay, everything that we've kind of been chatting about, all these links we're talking about, you're going to find the descriptions for those in the description of the event. We have code ProCare to save $25 off registration for the retreat. Yes. So just ProCare. It's not case sensitive, is it?
It's all caps. Yep. ProCare,
All caps.
all caps. Yes.
All caps ProCare. $25 off your registration. And how long is registration open?
Registration is open until I believe 3 o'clock on November 7th, or until tickets sell out. So yeah.
Okay. Well, we're 100 days away from the Bariatric
90
Society retreat. 99 now?
99.
99 days away. And I just want to say thank you, Nerissa. I also want to just jump on real quick, say a big thank you to our sponsor, which is ProCare Health. I'm going to jump over to ProCare Health's page here. And I'm going to just say, if you're looking for ProCare, it's procarenow.com. All of our events for each of these dates, like today with Nerissa, are listed under our Bari Connected page. And when you navigate to that page, you're going to see a place where you can click onto the events, and Nerissa's event will be on replay until the end of this month, which it's the end of the month. So I will leave it on there an extra week. Her event will be posted also. Here it is right here. Will be posted on our YouTube and our kind of click down here on our podcast, which is on all the major podcast stations. So if you click onto any of these links on our Very Connected page or onto the YouTube, you can find it there. We also added a Facebook page and a Facebook group where you can connect on those as well. So join us there in and after these events, and check out the Bariatric Society, check out Nerissa Recharged. And thank you all so much for being here with us. We love you and we appreciate your time. Thanks, Nerissa.
Thank you.
Bye,
Have a good night,
everybody.
everybody.